Welcome back, Titans, Episode 8, Section 13.2, General Angles and Radian Measures. We're going to jump right into this. Talked about radians a little bit in class, how to get your calculators out of them. We're going to actually find out what they are. So look in here, our objective is to measure angles in standard position using degree and radian measures. Well, first we'll look at degrees. Standard position is on a XY type plane here. We start with this middle spot. This is our vertex of our angle, and this side over here is what we call the initial side, and this is where we start every single angle we draw on the initial side. And then if the angle goes up from there and goes up, we go in a positive direction, and wherever that angle ends, we call that the terminal side. That's where it ends, the terminal side. Not the best handwriting today, but this is what we got. Terminal side. So when we're talking about degrees, well, where we start is what we call 0 degrees. That's your starting point. If we go up, notice that's a 90 degrees. If I go up to this right here, I get to 90 degrees. If I go all the way to the other side, a straight line, that's 180 degrees. If I keep going, notice it's another 90, so I go 270. If I was to jump up and spin all the way into a circle, it would be 360 degrees. So all the way around would be 360. So that is our positive directions. Standard position. Vertex, initial side, terminal side. Initial side always starts right here. Always starts right there. Okay? So that's the basics of standard position. Now when we talk about quadrants, our quadrants are the same as if we had, we were graphing. Quadrant 1, upper right, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So just remember what the quadrant numbers are. So here's what I want to do. I want to draw an angle with the given measurement. So I want to draw 510 degrees. Well, I always start with my initial side here. That's where you always start. And from there, since it's positive, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up 90, 180, 270. Oh, here's 360. I got to keep going. 450, going 90 each time. Oh, I don't want to get all the way to 540, so I'm going to stop right there and end my angle. And that loop-de-loop inside there tells me that I've gone multiple times around. So I'm going to write in 510 degrees. And there I drew 510 degrees. Okay. Drawing another one here. How about 150 degrees? Well, again, start on your initial side. It's positive. I'm going up. 90. I don't want to go to 180, so I'm going to stop here. There it is. I'm going to say that's 150 degrees. These don't have to be exactly perfect, but they got to be pretty gosh darn close. Okay, so there's 150 degrees. Looking at the next one, we're looking at negative 70 degrees. Well, when I go negative, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go in the opposite direction, so I'm going to go down. And this would be negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, negative 360. It just goes in the opposite direction. Well, negative 70 is not going to get all the way to negative 90, so it stops there. I write in negative 70 degrees. So if I was to draw an angle of negative 70 degrees, it would be right there. Alright, so positive going up from the initial side, negative going down from the initial side. Well, another way to do this is in radian measurements. What is a degree measure of a radian? 1 radian results in an arc with an equal length to the radius of a circle. So, looking at this graph here, if I was looking at a circle, the radius of this circle is this distance right here, from the middle to the outside. Well, 1 radian is the same as that distance, and what I'll do is I'll take the arc here that is created, and if I was to flatten it out, it would be equal to the radius. It would be equal to the r if I flatten it out. So that is actually what a radian means. It's just the radius. Okay. 1 radian is equal to 1 radius. They are the same. Now, a very important point here that would be good to point out is that 180 degrees is equal to pi radians, and 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi radians. I just take the first one times 2, get 360, get 2 pi. Okay, so I would write that down. That will come in very handy in class tomorrow. Alright. Moving on here. Looking at this, what is the angle measure here? Well, now I'm kind of doing the opposite of what I was doing before. I'm not drawing it, I'm figuring out what it is. So let's say I start on this one right here on my initial side. I'm going down, so I know it's negative. So that automatically takes 420 out of the equation because I'm going down. Well, I start here. I know that if I go all the way around, this is negative 360. Go around again, negative 720. So it's got to be bigger than negative 720. Well, negative 210 is not bigger than negative 720. So it's got to be this negative 13 over 3, but how do I know that? Well, let's take a look here. If I was to redo this, now I'm going to go in radians. Again, we said 180 was equal to pi radians. So if I'm going down, negative 180 is going to be negative 1 pi. All the way around is going to be negative 2 pi. And I could keep going and so forth. Okay? Halfway would be negative 1/2 pi, or pi over 2. Halfway between negative pi and negative 2 pi is negative 3 pi over 2, or negative 1/2 pi. Okay, so when reading this, I'm going negative, so negative 1 pi, negative 2 pi, negative 3 pi, negative 4 pi, and I don't quite get to negative 5 pi, so this is like negative 4 pi and something. How do I know that's negative 13 over 3? Pi. Well, I'm just going to take, what is negative 13 divided by 3? That's negative 4.33. Well, that's between negative 4 and negative 5, so yes, this would be the correct answer. Good simple trick is to just divide those two numbers, 13 and 3. And then you can figure out how far to go on your graph. Okay? Let's look at another one. How about if I have this picture drawn? Oh, I'm going up, so I know it's positive, so let's take a look here. And it's probably not this one, I already did that one. So positive, I'm going up 90. All the way around is 360, so it's got to be bigger than 360, but smaller than 450, so 420 is my answer there. Okay, just start on your initial side and go from there. Looking at the last one here, oh, it's going down, so it's got to be negative. Start on the initial side, go down, negative 180. It's got to be bigger than negative 180, but smaller than negative 270. Negative 210 is our answer right there. Okay, a little different than drawing those, figuring out what they are. Let's go ahead and draw a few more here. So I'm going to draw negative 5 pi. So again, I'm going down, so it's negative. Draw my initial side in. Well, we said negative 1 pi, negative 2 pi. So if I start here going down, negative 1 pi, negative 2 pi, negative 3 pi, negative 4, negative 5 pi is right there. Draw that in. How do I know it goes that many times around? Because of those circles, this would be negative 5 pi. Okay. Let's draw one more here, 144 degrees. Start, initial side, 144. I'm going positive. Up means this is 90. Next one would be 180. Ooh, I got to stop before I get to 180. There's 144 degrees. 90, 180. Can't go that far, so I stop in between them. Okay? Perfect. All right. Now, the last thing we'll talk about here is what we call coterminal angles. Two angles in standard position are coterminal if their terminal sides coincide. So that means they're next to each other, basically. An angle coterminal with a given angle can be found by adding or subtracting multiples of 360. So let's take a look here. Find one positive angle and one negative angle that are coterminal with negative 60 and 495. Well, if I was to draw negative 60, I'd go down. I don't want to get to negative 90, so this would be negative 60 degrees. A coterminal angle would have the same terminal side. So basically what I'd do is I would go the other way, and I'd end right there. And now I got to figure out what that degree is, because these would be coterminal angles. They have the same terminal side right here. Well, to do that, I'm going to take negative 60, and I'm going to add 360 to it. And if I add 360 to it, I get 300 degrees. And that is actually what this one is right here. It is 300 degrees. I go up, 90, 180, 270, stop, 300. The other way to find the other one is negative 60 minus 360. So another coterminal angle would be negative 420. How do I find that one? Well, let's take a look here. I'm going to do this one in yellow. So I'd start on my initial side, go down. Going all the way around, that would be negative 360. Negative 420, I'm going to stop right here. Oh, that's got the same terminal side, negative 420. Okay, so those are how we find these coterminal angles. If I was to do 495, I'd take 495 plus 360 and 495 minus 360. I think if I add it, I end up getting 855 degrees, and if I subtract it, I end up getting 145 degrees. Those would be coterminal angles, because I go all the way around. One more time. Okay? Coterminal angles right there. We will draw some of these in class tomorrow, and that is it for this episode. End of episode 8. Be ready to work more with angles tomorrow. We'll do some more radians, but hopefully you got a good grasp on it. If you got to rewatch any parts, go back, pause it, rewatch, do what you got to do to make sure you're ready to rock and roll tomorrow in class. Have an awesome, awesome evening, rest of your day, whatever you're doing.